Six Flags America is a park that gets a lot of criticism from enthusiasts, but in the late 90s, Six Flags was heavily investing into this newly acquired property. Previously known as Adventure World, Six Flags purchased the park in 1998 and wasted no time adding new DC Comics themed attractions. 1999 brought us Two-Face and Joker's Jinx, 2000 introduced Superman Ride of Steel, and 2001 marked the opening of Batwing. Although all of these coasters had their fans, the Intamin Mega Coaster would prove to be the fan favorite. Superman Ride of Steel is the tallest coaster at Six Flags America and to this day the most popular attraction in the park. Only the second Intamin Mega Coaster to ever open, it has been thrilling guests for the past 20 years, and I finally got to ride it late last year. Ride of Steel is interesting in that its layout is not unique to this park. Perhaps in their hurry to invest into their newly acquired park, Six Flags decided to make this coaster a mirror image of another Ride of Steel that opened the year prior at Six Flags Darien Lake. The layouts are identical, save for being mirror images of each other, but does that make it good? Let's find out. There's not much theming to speak of on Ride of Steel, save for the music that plays in the station. After boarding the trains, which use the well-known Intamin T-bar restraints, the train makes a sharp right turn out of the station and into the 197-foot-tall lift hill. After reaching the top, the train enters the first drop, one of 205 feet, reaching 73 miles per hour. This drop provides a great view of the park and gives a great first impression of the sheer speed riders experience over the course of the coaster. The trains bank right and enter a large airtime hill, giving off some decent floater airtime, and here is where the layout begins to get unusual. The trains enter the first of two massive helixes which do a good job preserving that speed from the first drop and also offering some good lateral Gs. However, upon exiting the first helix, riders find the most confusing part of the entire attraction, a long straight section. Everyone likes to make fun of this part since the designers likely could have incorporated another element here, but I do like how unusual it is for a coaster of this size, and I couldn't resist commenting on it every time I rode. It does give you a second to take in your surroundings and get a better sense of the speed you're traveling at, but not for long as riders are thrown into a second airtime hill, giving some more floater airtime, actually a bit more than the first hill. The second helix arrives, still preserving a lot of that speed, but by now it feels like the coaster is on repeat. The first helix is far more forceful, and by this point I was just waiting for the coaster to throw something different my way. Thankfully, the second helix leads into a series of 3 ejector airtime hills that bring the experience to an end. These airtime hills are a lot of fun, and I much prefer them to the floater hills found earlier in the experience. The ejector air isn't quite as aggressive as, say, Phantom's Revenge, but it is close, I'll give it that. Superman Ride of Steel is definitely an enjoyable coaster, but that's not to say it's perfect. When looking at the Darien Lake version, it's clear that this coaster was designed for the park. The coaster's turns and helixes are made to fit within the plot of land the park had available, and much of the track goes over the water, which gives that straight section more of a reason to be there. As you enter Darien Lake, Ride of Steel is front and center and you can see the entire layout. Six Flags America's version is far more secluded, going out into the woods away from the park, making it very difficult to get photos and videos of. It does feel very isolated from the rest of the park. In fact, during my second or third ride as we entered the first helix, I noticed a group of about 5 or 6 deer just chilling next to the track watching us go by. It was definitely a unique experience, but just by looking at all the land the park has back there, it makes you wonder what kind of layout Intamin could have come up with if Six Flags hadn't chosen to copy Darien Lake's Ride of Steel. Despite the basic layout, the coaster succeeds in providing a huge sense of speed for much of that layout. You're just flying through those helixes, and with the wind in your face, you feel that 73 miles per hour speed for the entire experience. I would definitely recommend a front row ride to get the highest sense of speed. At the beginning though, after the first drop, I noticed that the coaster has a pretty noticeable rattle to it. It's nothing that'll ruin the ride experience, but it's a subtle sign that this coaster is beginning to show its age. And speaking of showing its age, man could Ride of Steel use a repaint. The track is so sun damaged and faded at this point, and even the trains themselves could use some upkeep, as I noticed they all had huge wear marks on the seats and restraints, and even the Superman logo on the front of each train had begun peeling off. It's clear that 20 years of consistent operation have not been kind to this coaster, and although it still runs well, it doesn't look the part. And honestly, Darien Lake's version looks even worse, and that one only runs 1 train. Six Flags America's version at least has the advantage of 2-train operation. Rough exterior aside, this is still an excellent mega coaster, and I really enjoyed each of my 6 rides I got when I visited the park. Ride of Steel is extremely re-rideable, and thankfully the lines were pretty short when I visited, so I was able to keep getting back into the queue. I feel pretty confident saying that this is the best coaster in the park and giving it an admirable 8 out of 10. Six Flags giving this coaster some TLC and some overall general upkeep should get it looking just as it did back in 2000. I just hope the park actually goes through with it. Regardless, it's an incredibly solid ride experience and one I'd happily ride again, provided the park actually adds something new to get me back there. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this review. Feel free to let me know what you think of both versions of Ride of Steel, and keep an eye on Rampaging Rex Productions for more coaster content. See you all next time.